Good evening and welcome to the regular Planning Commission meeting on July the 19th. I have a couple of housekeeping items I want to address first before we get the meeting started. I want to remind everybody that there is no mask mandate in the borough office building any longer. We are all following all of the COVID safety recommendations for which we feel comfortable and invite you to do the same. To that end, if you would prefer to call in to the crowd of the people that we have tonight, you can always call in at 1-855-290-3803. We will call on you when the issue comes forward. You to do the same. Madam Clerk, can we have a call to order with the roll call to determine a quorum?
Commissioner Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Chesbro?
Here.
Commissioner Begg?
Here.
Commissioner Elder?
Present.
Commissioner Glashan is excused. Commissioner Masanin?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as it is presented? None on the dais. Commissioner Masanin, any objections to the agenda as presented?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
The agenda is approved as presented. Next then is the Pledge of Allegiance. The newest hire. Mr. Ortiz, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The consent agenda is approved in one motion unless any of the items on the consent agenda wish to be withdrawn for additional conversation by a member of the commission. On the consent agenda tonight are the minutes from the June 21 meeting, regular meeting. B is introduction for public hearing quasi-judicial matters, resolution PC 21-15. An application under MSB 17.65 variances has been submitted by Richard Toussaint for a variance of a minimum of 25-foot setback to a public right-of-way and to the minimum 75-foot shoreline setback requirement under MSB 17.55. Located at 3874 South Wolverine Drive, tax ID number is 625-80000L004, within Township 17 North, Range 3 West, Section 28, Seward Meridian. Public hearing will be August 2nd, and the applicant is Richard Toussaint, and the staff is Peggy Horton. Is there any of these items that any members of the Planning Commission would like to call for further discussion? None here. Commissioner Masanin?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Next is introduction for public, next is audience participation. Audience participation is for anybody who wants to address the Planning Commission for any items not on the agenda tonight for public hearing. So if you're here to speak to the resolution PC 21-14 for the earth materials extraction, we'll have a public hearing for that, and that's the time to speak to it, and we'll address that when it comes up. This is for any other item that you wish to address the Planning Commission regarding. Is there a sign up? Okay. Yeah. So on our list is David Fracker. Oh, no problem. No, not a problem. Happens all the time. Is there anyone on the phone that wishes to speak to the Planning Commission on any items other than those that are on the public hearing tonight? Are there any hands waved? Remember, press *3 if that's the case, and you'll be identified by the last 4 digits of your phone number.
Madam Chair, nobody on the phone has raised their hand.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Please step forward, state your name, and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Eugene Carla Haberman. I follow the public process. When the public process is done appropriately, the decision made by the governing body is more like in the public interest. These words I've said for years, hoping to be more transparency, following open meetings laws, following a reasonable opportunity to public heard. In this room, I've witnessed over the years situations where planning commission members make decisions and there have been large attendances for those times and people walking out with tears and saying, what's the use? I'm glad to see so many people here tonight because that's rare. Generally, it's me. That's all. Because people pretty much have given up. But what I'm going to say tonight is this, a plea for help. Over the years, I've been known as self-appointed governor watchdog. I've been the thorn, the state, local and borough officials, Anchorage and elsewhere, addressing concern of non-compliance of those laws. Now I'm caught in a perfect storm, and I need the support of the public listening to me because less likely the government officials will give me that support because I have been in their way. And those who are attending and listening in for the public, if you want to really see a change for the better situation for the public, you need to change to where you direct that support. It's going to be more of the same with those who are elected in office. Change a seat there, change a position there, more of the same. But I am the principal party challenging the system. I'm right there. I've been caught in a perfect storm. And perfect storm with situations that were unforeseen for me. It came at a time, so I'm saying for the first time, I need your help. I can't do it alone. I need your financial support. Because if you do not support me at this time, the end result's going to be more of the same. It's also going to be a message to the state who are not complying with those laws. And they're going to continue doing that and making it harder for people to be in this room and challenge the system that's wrong. Thank you very much. And by the way, for note, my email address is eugene@mtaonline.net. Eugene@mtaonline.net. And my phone number is 907-632-9449. And what do you know, I have 30 seconds to spare. I plead with you. This is a time-sensitive situation. And if you don't support, and also I want to say this in closing, this is a very moment where it's the last time we can come together and make the system go in the right direction for the people. And it will send a message across the country, because what politicians do over across the country is divide the people instead of bringing them together. And the end result is it's for their advantage and not for the advantage of the people.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the planning commission for any items other than those that are already set for public hearing tonight? Is there anyone on the phone that has raised their hand? No. Okay, with that then, the audience participation is closed. We will move on to the public hearing, for which it looks like everyone is here, but we move on to our public hearings at 6:15 to allow anybody who is commuting an opportunity to get here on time. So we will take a brief recess until 6:15. It's 6:15. Thank you all for your patience with that. Again, if there's anyone on the line who wishes to speak, when the time comes for the public hearing, please just press *3 and that will raise your hand. We'll identify you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. So on to the new business tonight. We have resolution PC 21-14, which is conditional use permit in accordance with MSB 17.30 conditional use permits, CUP, for earth materials extraction activities for the extraction of approximately 2 million cubic yards of earth material from a 105-acre site within a 160-acre parcel located within Township 17 North, Range 2 West, Section 10, Tax Parcel C001. That's 17N02W10C001 Sewer Meridian. The applicant is UMIAQ Environmental on behalf of Co-Alaska. The staff is Mr. Weisenhunt. Before we get started, I'll read the ex parte to all the members of the commission. Question number 1, do you or any member of your immediate family have a substantial financial interest in any property affected by this decision? Or will you recognize a foreseeable profit as a result of this decision? Seeing all those here present, Commissioner Masanin?
No, Madam Chair.
Number 2, have you received or otherwise engaged in ex parte contact with the applicant, appellant, or other interested parties or members of the public concerning the application either before, during, or after this matter was submitted for decision? All those present, Commissioner Masanin?
No, Madam Chair.
And finally, are you able to be impartial in this decision? All yeses here, Commissioner Masanin?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So staff, Mr. Weisenhunt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. My name is Mark Weisenhunt. I'm the planner assigned to process for conditional use permit associated with Planning Commission Resolution 21-14 and 21-19. I'll give you a brief overview of my staff report, which begins on page 37. As previously mentioned, this conditional use permit was for the removal of approximately 2 million cubic yards. The application has been submitted on excuse me. Sorry about that. So the request was to remove 2 million cubic yards on a 105-acre mining area within a 160-acre parcel. Mining is expected to end in 2041. During the public notice process, all property owners within 1/2 mile of the property were notified. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess to allow Mr. Weisenhunt to take care of whatever issue is going on right now. So again, I'm sorry for the delay, but if we can just take a quick 5-minute recess so that he can read the report without interruption. No, we're okay? Thank you so much for your patience. We know that you're here and that we value your time and we don't want to waste it, but something fairly serious happened. So, Mr. Weisenhunt, are you okay to continue?
I'll be all right. I'm gonna make it brief. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Having a little challenges trying to deal with. So I apologize for that interfering tonight. Ultimately, we did review this application, and it does not meet the proposed, or excuse me, the proposed use does not meet all the standards outlined in Mat-Su Borough Specifically, it does not meet MSB 17.30.060, A1, 2, 4, and 5, and it does not meet MSB 17.28.060, A5A. You'll find that recommendation on page 53 of your packet. And lastly, there's a couple of clerical errors that you'll find within Planning Commission Resolution 21-19, and that's on page 1. There's a formatting clerical error. Then the footer states it is Planning Commission Resolution 21-14 when it should say 21-19. Thank you. With that, I'll take any questions.
So are there any questions of any members of the commission to Mr. Weisenhunt at this time? None on the panel. Mr. Commissioner Musanin, any questions for Mr. Weisenhunt?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Then with that, the applicant has 15 minutes to make their presentation, and then we'll ask questions at that time as well. Did you want to go? We don't have one down there, so I guess just turn on the button there. State your name. Anyone who's going to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. Thank you.
I'm Emily McDonald, McDonald, with Umiak Environmental. I'm an environmental specialist and agent to QAP. We've been helping them with their conditional use permit application. Gravel in the Mat-Su Borough. The Mat-Su Borough has a prime gravel resource. It provides safe public roadways, parks, utilities, and is an economic driver, providing jobs and careers in the civil and construction industries. Residents of the Mat-Su Borough are familiar with gravel source operations and the sporadic start-stop of work. This gravel source is no different. Operations will not occur 24/7 for 365 days of the year. However, QAP will be ready to work to complete a community road project in the manner that the road contract specifies. State contracts often require overnight halt to increase safety of road construction. Regarding the 1,000 trips a day, that is a maximum. An average is anticipated to be 100 to 300 trips a day. 1,000 trips a day would be a unique maximum in that 20-year period that's being requested for a conditional use permit. The proposed gravel source is a half a mile from an operating QAP gravel source, so no new machinery will be brought in to service this proposed source. Equipment such as the asphalt plant will be relocated temporarily from its existing location across the Parks Highway from the proposed gravel source. Due to this relocation, impacts to air quality, localized impacts to air quality are not expected to increase above what is already there in the local area. There's no additional traffic. Traffic is planned to go across Sylvan Road into the existing pit, so there's no additional traffic planned to cross Parks Highway or to load Pittman Road. The Meadow Lakes Comprehensive Plan, which according to Borough staff serves as a guideline to the planning department, does not disallow sand and gravel mining on this parcel. Land Use Goal 3 discusses establishment of a town center suggested by the plan authors to include the 160-acre parcel owned by the Alaska Mental Health Trust Authority, or the TLO. As a resource state, according to our state constitution, it is the policy of the state to encourage the settlement of its land and development of its resources by making them available for maximum use, consistent with the public interest. I'd like to refer to a letter written by the Trust Land Office to the Planning Commission and the Mayor. This letter was written July 16th, and I believe Planning Commission members have a copy. The TLO, which again stands for the Trust Land Office, has a fiduciary obligation to the trust and its beneficiaries. Beneficiaries include Alaskans with mental illness, developmental disabilities, chronic alcohol or drug addiction, Alzheimer's disease, and related dementia and traumatic brain injuries. The trust was established pre-statehood in order to generate revenue from trust land for the purpose of funding an integrated comprehensive mental health program for the state, Denial of a conditional use permit on trust lands creates a conflict with the trust's right to develop its lands and its fiduciary duty to do so. Limiting the ability of the trust to develop its land and resources for the highest and best use prevents maximization of revenue, which is one of the principles for which the trust was established. The TLO finds the staff report completely ignores due regard for this fiduciary obligation or management requirements of the trust and injury to the trust should the CUP be denied. The Meadow Lakes Comprehensive Plan fails to adequately acknowledge the management principles and fiduciary responsibility of the trust to develop its land for maximum revenue generation. The Mat-Su Borough has failed to acknowledge and weight the potential loss of revenue estimated at $1.56 million to the trust should the commission deny the permit. Therefore, the TLO views denial of this conditional use permit application as a functional taking and strongly opposes denial. Again, this is directly read from a letter that I believe the Planning Commission has a copy of. Land use goal 4 of the comprehensive plan notes that the balance point between these goals is to accept economic development activities, but also to establish rules to minimize the off-site impacts of such activities. No further rules have been put forward by the Meadow Lakes Community Council planning team. And this is why we are in front of the Planning Commission today, to establish the rules to minimize off-site impacts of a proposed gravel source. QAP believes they can overcome the issues of noise, dust, traffic, and other off-site impacts known to occur at gravel sources. Currently, what is proposed is a 10-foot tall earthen berm. QAP has suggested doubling this, or perhaps even more than doubling the height of an earthen berm. They have a property line setback, vegetative setback. These have all been offered to be increased in order to reduce impact off-site, to neighbors off-site. QAP has a noise monitoring program that they utilize in Anchorage, where they have gravel operations directly adjacent to condominiums. This program has been working for decades in these locations. QAP has also, in the application, has proposed to feature proximity backup alarms to reduce alarms on site. They've limited rock crushing and streeting activity hours, and they will comply with the permissible sound level limits allowed in the Mat-Su Borough Code. QAP wants to work with the community to achieve goal 4, perhaps by increasing buffers, modifying work hours, adjusting traffic counts, and working to ensure the safety of Sylvan Road for all users. Access has been modified from the original application to accommodate a bus stop. After applying for the conditional use permit and discussing with the community, access was shifted, and we have provided an updated site plan. The entirety of the mining area has also been moved outside of the water protection area. We suggest that the Mat-Su Borough solicits potential mitigation measures from ADEC to ensure quality of drinking water in the area. And with that, I will, with remaining time, I'll give to Patrick Cummins with QAP, who can answer technical questions.
Hello, I'm Patrick Cummins, C-U-M-M-I-N-S. I am a production engineer for Quality Asphalt Paving, division of Classic Inc. If you have any technical questions regarding the plan or any follow-up questions, feel free to take this time to answer them.
So does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Or did you have more? Okay. Then are there any questions for Mr. Cummins or Ms. McDonald at this time? Commissioner Musanin, any questions for the applicants?
No.
Okay. So what we'll do then is we'll take the public testimony, and then at the conclusion of that, any questions that come up that you have that you might be able to clear up for us, we'll ask you for that result as well. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So with that, we will start the public testimony. Right now, we have several pages of people that want to speak. You're allowed 3 minutes per person. I would ask that you please, in the interim of all of that, for the purpose of expediting this, please refrain from clapping or from any other exhibitions of anything that may delay us with that, to allow us to get through all this tonight so we don't have to extend it in case it goes over. So with that, we will start with Patty Fisher, and then next will be Doris Coffin. And if I mispronounce your name, I'm terribly sorry. It's not on purpose. I am myself somebody who has that mispronounced frequently. So if you recognize the mispronunciation, just come up. Remember to state your name and spell your last name for the record. So Patty Fisher, and next will be Doris. Is it Coffin or Coffin? Okay, and then we'll move from there.
Hello, my name is Patty Fisher. I am a resident of Meadow Lakes and an officer of the Meadow Lakes Community Council. I'm here tonight to speak against Coalaska's application for a gravel pit on Sylvan Road. There are a large number of us here. I estimate about 50. My first comment is to praise the planning department for the very thorough analysis and the diligent work that they put in on the packet you have regarding the pit, all 500 plus pages. I did not see any potential issues concerning the pit that was left unaddressed. As an officer of the Community Council, I want to speak to the Meadow Lakes Comprehensive Plan, which is frequently referenced in the packet. The comprehensive plan was developed by the Meadow Lakes Community Council over a period of 4 years, with hundreds of community council members community members involved in the process. The work began in July of 2001. Council members voted to approve the plan in June of 2005, and it was adopted by the Assembly in August 2005. Obviously, it was not a hastily thrown together document. The process involved many meetings and serious involvement of community members. The plan is currently used to support the direction of council activities. In opposition to what Umiat here has said tonight, the council would not have written any specific rules to tell a gravel company how to operate. On page 41 of the comprehensive plan, you will see a map which includes the future Meadow Lakes town site, center site. The proposed Sylvan gravel pit is smack dab in the middle of that prospective town center. The comprehensive plan clearly states, also in variance to what Umiat said, that it encourages the use of residential and commercial, and I quote, large-scale resource development activities are discouraged. Clearly, this proposed pit is a large-scale resource development. The packet prepared by the planning department states that the proposed use for gravel extraction is inconsistent with the applicable comprehensive plan as prescribed in Borough Code. That's the one Mr. Weisenhunt mentioned, 17.30.60. I ask that you recognize the serious nature of our comprehensive plan. Awarding a CUP to a pit in this location would be inconsistent with Borough Code. It would also be a negative statement to all Valley community councils that have plans, of which there are 16 listed on the Borough website. It would strongly imply that these plans are worthless. This issue is not relevant just to Sylvan, but to all communities in the borough. Finally, there is no reason for a gravel pit in this location. The property could be used for many other options. We estimate that there are 70 pits north from Pittman through the borough. The pit is not the highest and best use as suggested by Umiat. Thank you.
Thank you. So next is Doris Coffin, and then Amy Shackley or Shackle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Doris Coffin, Coffrn, and I'm here to plead with you guys. I have a chronic bronchitis and pneumonia, and I cannot, for health-wise, and our office is just around the corner, a couple of blocks where this asphalt is happening. And I'm not only in the office all day long. In the summer, my husband is out in the bush on project, and I have to run everything around. I have to run errand, I have to go to the bank, I have to go to CPA, in and out. And I can't take this, the dust and the smell from all that. I can inhale those. I do have an inhaler on hand. I have to live with that. So I'm begging you guys, please, please, please do not approve. It's not only me on health. There are many, many, many. So I beg, that's all I have to say is begging you guys not to approve of that. And at age 75, I need to enjoy my 2 cute grandchildren to live longer. I thank you.
Yes, indeed. So Amy, is it Shackle or Shackley? And then next will be Roger Oliver.
Hi, I'm Amy Shackle, Schachle. You got it the second try. Good evening. I hate public speaking, but I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak against the gravel pit that is going to be a quarter of a mile or less from my house. I wanted to thank the planning department for the denial of the initial conditional use permit. And I wanted to say that the code, I noticed it goes against 17-30-060, general standards for approval. The granting the permit will not be harmful to public health, safety, and general welfare of the residents. I've heard that the berm is going to be 100 feet, 20 feet, whatever it is, but over and over, the research has shown that gravel pits negatively impact the health of those living nearby. The dust from the mining puts silica in the air, which leads to lung cancer, silicosis, COPD, kidney disease, autoimmune diseases. I could go on and on. Cancers. It increases the hospitalization rates for heart diseases. Children here are even more at risk of adults because of the exposure to the silica, because of their physical activity, their higher metabolic rates, and their hand-to-mouth actions, as you can see right here. The children will also be more exposed than adults via inhalation and ingestion. I read one study from San Antonio metro area that showed twice the national average of pediatric asthma cases for children who live near a gravel pit. Diesel emissions from the trucks and equipment is another issue that we would have to face with. The diesel exhaust is a carcinogen and is more toxic than the gasoline vehicle exhaust. Long-term exposure to even low levels of exhaust raises the risk of dying from lung cancer and contracting multiple other cancers. I read rectal cancer and bladder cancer are very popular. That was on the CDC website. Asphalt plants release millions of pounds of chemicals into the air each year. These chemical pollutants include many cancer-causing toxins such as arsenic, benzene, formaldehyde, and cadmium. Other toxic chemicals are released in the air as the asphalt is loaded into trucks and hauled from the plant site, including volatile organic compounds, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and very fine condensed particles. Asphalt fumes are known toxins. Exposure to these toxins may cause cancer, central nervous system problems, liver damage, respiratory issues, on and on. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has determined that these hydrocarbons may be carcinogenic to humans. Studies are also showing that asphalt polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons affect reproduction rates, cause birth defects, and are harmful to human immune systems. The last one is very important to me because my youngest daughter has immune issues. So she's already at a disadvantage if this happens. In closing, none of the neighbors that I've talked to are in favor of having a gravel pit that is surrounded by residential neighborhoods. We're not against gravel. We're against gravel surrounded by houses. And then the answer I've been told is, well, move. Simply move. Well, that's great until I've read all the studies that my home is going to depreciate by at least a quarter. So what am I going to do? Cut the loss and run? Anyway, please do not allow this gravel pit to be opened in a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Roger Oliver and then Jane Axberg.
Hello, my name is Roger Oliver. I live at 6721 West Jones Drive for the last 19 years. Last week of April, we put our house on the market. May 5th, we signed a purchase agreement for it, purchase sale agreement. did the home inspection and appraisal, all was good. Then the notice came out for the proposed gravel pit or gravel permit that will come up to my property boundary. We didn't receive notice, but our neighbors did. Due to the new information pertaining to the gravel pit, the people backed out. And I have that in writing. I think I gave a copy to you. So I want to read you Matsu Borough Code 1730.10. Number 2, only to the part that pertains to us. It says promoting the orderly beneficial development of such areas by the owner permittee in a manner that will not devalue the extraction site or the neighboring properties for future beneficial uses upon the completion of the gravel extraction. Since its termination, we have had numerous showing requests, and 90% of the people who bothered to still look decided to see in the proposed gravel pit location, they were not interested. No one had any negative feedback on the price of the house or the house. Across the street from where I live, there's a house for sale, and it's pending, I believe, right now. But they put it on the market for $128 a square foot. I was assessed by the borough at 179. That's a 29% devalue. There are many gravel pits in the valley, but to the best of my knowledge, none are in the middle of an existing residential subdivision. The proposed operator of this gravel pit has abundant resources to find gravel further away from residential neighborhoods. They would not even have to go that much further away. This area is easy for them, much cheaper for them, so they chose it. I ask that you deny this permit.
I'm going to ask you to spell your last name for the record. You stated your
Oliver.
name, Oliver. Can you spell it?
Oliver.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to make sure everybody gets on the record for this in case it goes further. So next is Jane Axberg and then Frank Gregory.
Hi. I hope words actually will come out when I'm up here. I'm Jane Axberg, Axberg. And first, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission for the work that they do. I know it's a big responsibility that you have in making a decision here today that affects so many of us that are here. I'm opposed to the gravel pit and asphalt plant. Our property borders the proposed site. My family has lived on Joe's Drive since 1985, when my husband built our house. We raised our family here, now have grandchildren that play here. We have really nice neighbors, a nice quiet neighborhood, and it's just a good place to live. A gravel pit and asphalt plant would ruin that, and it would be devastating to the entire surrounding, devalue the properties, and could be harmful to the health of those living around it. The sale of our neighbor, who just spoke, the sale fell through because of the possible gravel pit in their backyard. What does that say about devaluing all of our properties? Also, the safety of driving on Sylvan is really in jeopardy. I contacted the Matsu Borough School District Transportation Department. There are 6 school buses that travel on Sylvan 2 trips a day. Navigating Sylvan with dump trucks making up to 1,000 trips a day entering the road would be a challenge and a safety issue for the kids on the buses. The intersection is another story. It's currently a safety hazard. There have been numerous accidents there, which usually involve someone turning left into traffic. There are 2 buses that transport 3 to 5-year-old kids to CCS preschool, located in Meadow Lakes Mall. There's American Charter School, located in the mall. Midnight Sun and Meadow Lakes Elementary are just up Pittman, all of them using that intersection. 3 Bears, a very busy store located right by the intersection. And you don't want to go to 3 Bears when school is getting out because it's really hard to get out of there. All of the traffic using that intersection. UPS store is right there in the mall. Tesoro is right there at the intersection. And then can you imagine adding all of the dump truck traffic to that? I understand this is business for QAP, but isn't it also their business and duty to locate where it will not devalue the surrounding properties and quality of life of the neighboring residents? Middle of an already established residential area is reckless. It's not a reasonable location. So I'm asking all of you, before you make your decision, to please consider this. If you lived there and were raising your family there, would you like this to pass? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Frank Gregory and then Meredith Gregory.
My name is Frank Gregory, Gregory. Both Bruns Park and Rainbow Heights Estates subdivisions are family-friendly, established residential neighborhoods. My family and I have built homes in Bruns Park and have lived here for 33 years. For over 30 years, I've been taking a hike every day down Sylvan Road to Marigold Drive, looping around to Buttercup Drive and back up Sylvan. With hundreds of belly dumps using this area every day, I will be denied this privilege. The proposed gravel pits butt right up against my property and could jeopardize my well water. In mining of 2 million cubic yards of gravel over 20 or more years will change the character of our neighborhoods and devalue our properties. When all is done, just a gaping hole in the ground will be all that remains.
Thank you. Then it's Meredith Gregory and then Sandra Phillips Johnson.
It's actually Meredith Gregory. That's okay. I get mispronounced all the time. And Gregory is spelled Gregory. My husband and I are homeowners in the Bruns Park subdivision. We built our home and have lived in this subdivision since August 1988, 33 years. We have many concerns about the proposed development of a gravel pit within and out access to it off Sylvan Road. This road is the only in and out access to the two existing subdivisions. This proposed gravel pit is surrounded on 3 sides by homeowners. Our property would have as our backyard one of the boundaries of the gravel pit. We're opposed to the gravel pit for many reasons, some of which are property value, safety concerns, noise, air quality, dust, traffic overload, and effects to our well and water. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Phillips Johnson and then Mary White Meacham.
I'm Sandra Phillips Johnson, PHILLIPS-JOHNSON. It's my first time to be an adult and to come before commission in the various states that I've lived in. I would like to, I'm representing my family as we bought in the Bruns development in September of last year, or that's when we moved in. We bought because of the environment and the quietness of the area, because we had been living on Nelson and having traffic go up and down the road was not conducive. We have a teenage son that walks down to the store. He isn't driving as of yet, and there's no walking path for the safety. Last winter, we had a near miss. As we were driving home, we had people walking on the side of the road. I went to pass them, and because of the hill on Sylvan, I almost had a head-on as they were coming over. That is near the proposed turnaround or exit of the gravel pit.
The other thing is, had we known that there was a development of a gravel pit, we would not have bought there due to health issues, breathing. We are concerned of the devaluation of our home. And because we had bought for the quiet and the nature. When we got up there, there were moose, and there's a moose and a calf going across into the wetland area of the proposed pit. And we're concerned with the environmental impact of the trucks and hydraulic fluids being dropped into the ground of the pit. I do want to applaud the planning department for the work and the study that they give to the denial on the permit for the gravel pit. I ask that you, as a committee, please consider the well-being of the residents and the environment over the profit for a corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Then Mary White, I think it's Meacham, and then Karen, I'm going to go with Zhakowski or something close to that.
Hi, my name is Mary White Meacham. Spelling your last name is Whitemeacham. I have the safety of the traffic is a major concern. I wrote it in my email to Mark as well. In 2015, I had a dog that was going to the bathroom between the road and the well house that is for the property for 12 homes that is right next to the road there. I had a dump truck that was speeding down the road. He had a bump trailer on the back of his dump truck, and he spooked her, and he was driving on the wrong side of the road to make the turn onto Marigold, and consequently squashed her like a pancake. And my concern with all of the dump truck traffic that's going to be coming down, that corner is the exact same corner where the bus stop is for the kids early in the morning and also in the evening. And there's more than one bus stop on that road as well, because there's one down by where the Tesoro now is called the supermarket store, because they just changed their names. My second thing is I didn't see any proposal on how they plan on to clear the land, because there is a wooded area as well. And if they plan on burning the trees, that will hinder breathing for me, as I have asthma. And when there's been a local fire just 30 miles down the road, a couple years back, I couldn't even go outside, and I was on my nebulizer every night. So the health quality is not very good if they plan on burning that wood that's in that location. And I would like to say that it's going to interrupt probably our well, because it's, like I said, right on the corner next to the road, and it takes care of all the other homes in the neighborhood down on Knox. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. So Karen, I'm going to again try this. Karen.
My name is Karen Zachowski. Zachchowski. And my husband and I bought our property in 1997, and we started building the house that we're in ourselves. So we put a lot of hard work into it. And we moved there because we love the property and the surrounding area. My concerns about the proposed gravel pit are many, and I know you've heard of some of them already. I see nothing positive for us residents in this area. A major concern from my point of view is underground water that could be affected by this heavy industry. Chemicals may seep into the water, and our clean water would be greatly affected. Of course, we love our Alaska for clean air and clean water, and wells may even run dry. So my question is, who would be responsible for that if that happened? The water being polluted, the wells run dry. As I see it, the company does well financially, while we take a financial loss. The gravel pit will affect our quality of life. So, I just ask you to please consider what's going on here. And that's about all I can say right now. Thank you.
Thank you. So Brett Westcott and then Joy Bruns.
I'm Brett Westcott, Whiskey Echo Sierra Tango Charlie Oscar Tango Tango. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Matsu Development Services Division staff, especially Mr. Weisenhunt. Very professional gentleman, and you guys are blessed to have him. Your research, Mr. Weisenhunt, on all the numerous facts clearly shows that this controlled use permit fails to meet the borough standards. Thank you for a job well done. Thank your staff for us, please. I spent 24 years, my wife and I, all over the world in the Army. We dreamed of our dream house, and from 97 to 2002, we looked hard in the borough. We took vacation from South Korea to come here and look for land. And I feel that there's a huge difference between the gravel pit coming after we build our dream houses in our neighborhoods versus me building my dream house near your gravel pit. I need to address one item that the borough doesn't address, and I'm not sure why: airstrips and aviation safety. I've been flying for 39 years, and I've lost a lot of friends to aviation accidents. One of the leading causes of general aviation accidents is controlled flight into terrain. No one's mentioned this, but this gravel pit is right on the approach end of our airstrip. Flying a normal operating aircraft into something is controlled flight into terrain. Approving this gravel pit asphalt plant on short final to an already developed, just like all our houses are already there, established FAA airstrip clearly adds unnecessary risk to our borough aviators and all our family members. Clearly. Gravel pits, asphalt plants add many particles into the air, and these air pollutants will reduce visibilities for all of us. Air pollutants and particles also attract moisture that will cause fog and weather phenomena on short final. The most important job of our government is to protect its citizens. That's your job, and I'm counting on you. My family's counting on you. All of us are counting on you. Has the borough, or better yet, has QAP talked to the FAA? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joy Bruns. And then after Ms. Bruns, we're going to go and take some of the questions on the phone. We have quite a few people that would like to speak there as well, so we'll take a few of those.
Good evening. I'm Joy Bruns, B-R-U-N-S. I live in Bruns Park subdivision, which was homesteaded in the 50s by my in-laws. What happened there? Anyway, okay, but it did something weird. About 20 years ago, my husband and I decided to build our dream home on the lake, which is the far basically south side of Bruns Park. We're out there on the lake. We moved in late October of the year that we built. Come the next spring, we found out there's a gravel pit a half mile to maybe a mile straight across from our lake from us. And when it began its operations and started up for the season, we thought we'd made a huge mistake. Even they're building on land that's been in my husband's family forever. The noise was incredible. So luckily for us, it only ran for a couple of years before they hit water. So now if you drive down Vine and you see the lake on the right, when you're heading south, that was that pit. So we were only fortunate in that aspect that they hit water and had to close down. So that was a good half mile to maybe a mile from us. Now this pit will be one street over. And I just can't even imagine the noise. All right. I mean, seriously, the noise from that pit was when they were separating rock was just amazingly loud. It just doesn't seem to me that this belongs in well-established neighborhoods. We were there forever ago, before statehood is when my in-laws homesteaded. All right. It just seems to me there's a much better place for something like this. There are plenty of gravel pits in this valley. Sorry, I wanted to check my notes, make sure I didn't forget anything, but basically that was it. That gravel pit far away was incredibly loud. And also, I don't know, this hasn't been spoken about. We weren't notified, and nobody, I think, realizes this land was offered for sale by the trust last summer. None of us, nobody I talked to heard about that. We probably would have loved to have found a way as a community to buy that from the trust. And in fact, I still have ideas to possibly, if this, if we cannot allow this pit, it would be really lovely to put away somehow together to purchase it from the trust. They'd get their money, and we would have either a preserve or something nice developed in the future. I know we weren't notified, and we're right there in Bruns Park. So anyway, I don't know if y'all are aware of that, but we got notification through the grapevine just recently that they did offer it for sale, but nobody knew. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. So can we take a couple of calls? Okay. So again, if you're on the phone and you would like to address this issue, could you please press *3? I think that there were like 5 or 6 when we started this, and we'll go ahead and take the first 5 on the list. Press *3, and then you will be identified by the last 4 digits of your phone number. When that number is called, please state your name and spell your last name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
So person with phone number ending in 8772, it is your time to speak.
Hi there. Hope you could hear me. My name is April Morlock, Morlock. I'm calling in from Colorado and speaking against the proposed gravel pit, all in PC 214. I was born and raised in Alaska and moved to 6951 Joe's Drive just a few months after I was born, almost 31 years ago. Over those 31 years, my parents raised 8 children, the best dog a kid could ask for, and I think we may even had a goat and chickens at some point. And we can't forget the honeybees my dad thought was a good idea. My childhood is filled with endless days of playing and getting lost in those woods behind my house, and some of the most epic games of capture the flag you could imagine. Those woods also provided my family Christmas tree year after year, an adventure all on its own as we would rotate each year which kid got to pick out the special one. Still, after all these years, each time I come home, I look forward to turning down Sullivan Drive and knowing I get to wake up in my own piece of heaven, see my nephews and nieces play in the same yard I did, and breathe that fresh air that's provided by all those beautiful trees that raised me. If this gravel pit gets approved, all that is gone. Not only will you erase my childhood, you will erase any future adventures, memories, and moments for so many families to come. We lost my dad 14 years ago in a tragic accident, and I know he would be heartbroken to know that his home he so proudly chose for his family and a community he believed in and served for would turn their back on protecting the people and the homes who have been here for decades. If this year has taught us anything, is that our communities and our health are most important. We need backyards and we need clean air, not gravel pits and smokestacks. We all know that no matter what Alaska puts down on paper or says in front of you today, that the air or water sources they say that our air and our water sources will be safe and not compromised, and the sounds will be non-existent and the traffic will not increase is not true. We all know it is never true. I ask for you tonight to please see the people in front of you, the people who got in their cars tonight to protect their homes and the places they love. My own mother is there tonight, along with her neighbors. Hi, Frank. Hi, Axberg. She has known my whole life. This is their home. And together, no matter the differences, they are standing up against it because it is wrong. Please look at their faces and understand the pain you are causing. My backyard is no place for a gravel pit or any sort of destruction that will affect generations to come. In a state that can fit almost Texas in it 3 times, you cannot tell me that there's not another location that is not in the heart of so many homes. Like others have said here tonight, we are not against gravel, but against one in our backyard. We are a state that stands behind hard work and our people, so please stand behind us. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you make the right choice as a community, the community that has always lived here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next number.
Person with phone number ending in 3112, it is your time to speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, hi, my name is Dan Schwarzenberger. My name is spelled SCHWARZENBERGER. My wife and I, we moved here last year. If we had known that there's been going to be a proposed gravel pit, we obviously would never have come to move here. I can tell you that I am a member of the Local 302, which is a huge union that is involved deeply in construction. And I know what it's like to work in a gravel pit. I know that it's extremely loud and extremely noisy. I know what goes on. We need double hearing protection. They can't sit there and tell us that it's not going to affect the local neighborhoods. Our neighborhood, our property is directly adjacent to the proposed gravel pit. It'll be extremely noisy for us. Another thing that they probably have not, one of the gentlemen was talking before about the FFA requirements. I don't think they've done any research in that whatsoever. Our flat is called Airplane Acres, which actually has an old airstrip right through the center of it. And there's nothing to say that they can't start flying airplanes again if they were to get the proper permits. That again, with also the existing airport, would cause some big difficulties there. That's about all I have to say, I guess.
Thank you. Next number.
Person with phone number ending in 2100, it is your time to speak.
Good evening. My name is Holly Chalup, CHALUP. Thank you for the opportunity to provide our comments. I'm speaking today for the Trust Land Office on behalf of the Alaska Mental Health Trust Authority. I'd like to call your attention to a written comment submitted to the Planning Commission clerk by the Trust on Friday, July 16th, 2021. I'll briefly summarize the written comment here. The Trust Land Office has a fiduciary obligation to the Trust and its beneficiaries. Beneficiaries include Alaskans with mental illness, developmental disabilities, chronic alcohol or drug addiction, Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, and traumatic brain injury. The Trust was established pre-statehood in 1956 in order to generate revenue from trust lands for the purpose of funding integrated, comprehensive mental health programs for the state. Denial of the conditional use permit on trust lands creates a conflict with the trust right to develop its land and its fiduciary duty to do so. Limiting the ability for the trust to develop its lands and resources for highest and best uses prevents maximization of revenue, which is one of the principles for which the trust was established. The state legally has a duty and loyalty to the trust. Borough authorities are granted by the state and are a political subdivision of the state, and therefore the borough also has a duty and loyalty to the trust. The Trust Land Office finds the staff report completely ignores due regard to the fiduciary obligation or management requirements of the trust and injury to the trust should the CUP be denied. The Meadow Lakes Comprehensive Plan also fails to adequately acknowledge the management principles and fiduciary responsibilities of the trust. The Mat-Su Borough fails to acknowledge and weight the potential loss of revenue approximately 1.56 million, should the commission deny the permit. Therefore, the TLO views denial of the conditional use permit application as a functional taking, and the trust strongly opposes denial. Finally, I'd like to call attention to several inaccuracies or lack of consideration in the staff report. The trust is proposing to sell 1.05 million cubic yards, not 2 million cubic yards of gravel. The trust also requires a 100-foot vegetative buffer, not a 25-foot buffer as proposed. The parcel could be developed to support the vision of the Meadow Lake Community Town Center site post-reclamation, should it be in the trust's interest to do so. This would maximize the revenue potential of the parcel. The staff report fails to provide or suggest mitigating measures for an approval or give mitigating measures a hard look to create a balanced decision. The staff report also exercises management decisions for resources it has no regulatory or statutory authority over. The TLO, on behalf of the trust, encourages the Planning Commission to grant the conditional use permit with appropriate mitigating stipulations as is within its authority to do so. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. The next number on the phone list.
Okay, so we have several people who are on the line who have not raised their hand. If you would like to speak to this matter, please press *3 if you're on the phone.
All right, then we'll go back to the list unless there's somebody else, then we can wait. So next is Chad Scott, and then following that will be Monica Alderman.
Hello, my name is Pastor Chad Scott. I'm a Middle Lakes Chair of Community Safety, and I would like to commend also the Borough Planning Department for their initial denial, their lengthy analysis and ultimate disapproval of Resolution PC 21-14. Excuse me. I'd also like to thank Alex and Mark and Peggy as well for reaching out to our community through the Community Council and various interactions to help address these issues and give us clarification. The Planning Department's 500-page response to this proposed gravel pit should be more than sufficient to reject this resolution. But as often is the case, our concerns differ from that of the Planning Department or the Commission. And those that are standing here have a lot of other issues beyond what could be addressed here. And many of it have been addressed. I'm very thankful for that. But our concern as a community is for our safety, for our neighborhoods, for our communities. And if passed, this gravel pit would negatively affect hundreds of homes and families, as well as those working in and traveling through the area. We're concerned that the project would further endanger an already dangerous area as it passes through one of the poorest constructed intersections in our state, a school zone, a busy Three Bears grocery store entrance. It's already a nightmare, backing up a dysfunctional traffic pattern and causing issues to an adjacent school, dozens of businesses, and pedestrian safety. This commission, if I could remind you, you're not beholden to the Behavioral Health Trust or the state or any other private sector entity. Your job is not to support their bottom line or to be their rubber stamp. You're our last and only line of defense to protect our community. I understand the trust job is to maximize their profits, and QAP represents, this property represents to them and resources to be extracted for profit and to their employees and stakeholders. But the thousands of people in Meadow Lakes that are affected, this represents our community. This represents our families and our health. And in closing, I'd like to just remind each of you that on this commission that you do not represent the state and their interests, the Mental Health Trust or any other developer. You represent the borough and its collective communities and their well-being. There are many other areas to extract minerals needed to develop our infrastructure. Please protect the greatest resource that you're tasked with overseeing, and that's our community. With the time I have left, I want to just mention, we had a gentleman who wanted to address this commission. He's a veteran, and his concern was with his own PTSD and his own health and breathing issues. He tonight had to be admitted into the hospital with stress-related health issues. And so if I could speak on his behalf, just to throw that out there, with the remaining time that I have, I'd ask you to keep in mind those in the surrounding areas and their mental health. Thank you.
Okay, would you, I know that you have a comment spelling, spell your last name.
Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Monica Alderman and then Heather Langendorf.
Hi, my name is Monica Alderman, Alderman. And my husband and I and our family have lived at Sunridge Circle for the past 18 years. And like many other people, this is our forever home. We like the area. It was away from the Wasilla. We moved out. So I'm gonna just read a little bit here. We have a daughter, son-in-law, and 2 small children that live on Joe's Drive that will affect them as well. And she's with me. My husband and I are opposed to the gravel pit due to all the reasons mentioned here tonight. My thoughts and concerns are to all these homeowners that have purchased property and built their homes, which is their investment to live in a community we call home. Some of our homes, as I said, are forever homes, and some will be bought and sold as people upgrade or move for various reasons. By allowing the gravel pit to rape and pillage this section of pristine land so near our homes, it will devalue our properties for the next 20 years. From what I've been told, to 25 to 40% of their current value. Have you seen what is left of gravel pits when they are done with them? I am talking money because this is what it's all about with the Trust Land Office, to raise money for the Alaska Mental Health Trust Fund. But don't they have thousands and thousands of acres to get gravel throughout the valley? I would like to ask all of you, would you want a gravel and asphalt plant within walking distance to your homes? It does come down to safe drinking water, clean, fresh air we breathe every day, and the quietness of out-of-town living, as well as the safety and health of everyone living in this area. Please, please consider denying this proposed gravel and asphalt pit. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Heather Langendorf and then Kathleen Koneman.
Hi, my name is Heather Langendorf. It's spelled Langendorf. I'm a homeowner with a property adjacent to this proposed gravel pit. I'm just going to appeal to the commission tonight to deny this permit. It's a large parcel of state mental health trust land, and it's bordered on 3 sides with quiet residential neighborhoods. I looked on my property and I counted 40 homes that are directly adjacent to the parcel, and then 1 block away I counted 140 additional residences that are just within 1 block of this development. The proposed industrial use of this parcel is going to be harmful to the public health, safety, and economic welfare of the residents. I mean, we're talking about the human environment, and I find it really kind of appalling that the state mental health trust land would be okay with having their land developed this way in a residential neighborhood. I think we all know, like the saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I'm not sure why they want to affect the quality of lives and the health and well-being of these residents just so they can treat them in hospitals later or something and spend more money to do that. The borough code that is Title 15-24030 is the Meadow Lakes Community Council Comprehensive Plan. And that was adopted in 2005. And that planning document was made to guide the future development of the area and to meet the community goals. And Meadow Lakes is foremost, it's a residential area. The property owners within the Meadow Lakes community boundaries don't favor heavy industry or developments that lower local property values. I've been to 2 community meetings. I'd never gone to any community meeting in my life. And I sat with, local residents, and there was 50 people at 2 different weekends that sat in there and that were really concerned about this development. So the people that live there appreciate the large tracts of lands and trees, the meadows and unspoiled lakes and streams. The parcel proposed for this heavy industrial development is what would be the town center, and it's intended to be a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use residential and commercial district. There's already a wooded trail system present that I use, me and my family use. And it's identified as like a potential goal for future development for that community council plan to make like a trail system in there. I think this permit should be denied because of the environmental and offsite impacts to the neighboring residents. Right now, it's a mature forested habitat with a complex system of interrelated surface and subsurface water. I asked that the planning committee screen this industrial development that would allow gravel trucks and noise and pollution to our neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kathleen Kahneman and then David Fracker.
Hey, I'm Kathleen Kahneman, that's Koeneman. I lived in the 49er subdivision for over 30 years. For much of this time, I have been a water operator for our public water system. We are a Class A system. We currently have 14 residences with about 40 people. We are monitored very closely by ADEC. We are in compliance, and we spend a lot of time and money keeping current with water testing and paperwork that is required. Our well is located at the corner of Knox and Sullivan on Track B. This is very close to the possible 500 trucks with 1,000 trips a day traveling up and down Sullivan. We have a small rectangle located on lot 2. We do not have another public space for this. We must be within 200 feet of our 7,500 gallon septic tank. So we are very concerned about our water source. Our subdivision does have water rights filed with the Alaska Department of Natural Resources. Our residents get their first draw of water every day from our facility. That's 40 people. What plan do you have to protect our water source? Does QAP have one? If we have a problem, who will have to provide water to every home until the problem is resolved? This is not the place for a gravel pit. So I heard somebody say something about the thing I'm going to talk about now. They're supposed to be within 1,000 feet of our well, and supposedly they're going to fix that. The planning department did, that's what I'm reading, something from the planning department packet. So they're supposed to be within 1,000 feet of our well. Where proposed mining is closer to the waters than recommended setbacks, it is recommended that a detailed hydrogeologic study be performed by a qualified person to evaluate potential impacts and design effective mitigation alternatives. The proposed use is within the protection area, so like I said, within 1,000 feet of our well. A detailed hydrologic study to mine within the protection area has not been provided. The applicant has not proposed to monitor the quality of water. And then there is a map in the packet which shows exactly where our well is and that we are within 1,000 feet. We basically are the first phase. And again, I state this is not the place for a gravel pit. Thank you.
Thank you. David Fracker and then Taryn Fracker.
Yes, my name is David Fraker, Fraker. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about in our homeowner association meetings, I'm one of the board members there, have already been addressed, and I'm trying not to be too redundant, so I just made a couple bullet points here. Wanted to thank the planning department for denying this, not wanting this to go through. The current gravel pit behind Three Bears, that traffic that's coming from that gravel pit does not go through our residential area. It passes by a couple residential areas before it dumps onto parks. So it's not quite the same as what Quality is saying now, that it's not going to impact the travel. There'll be much more travel on our road than what is currently taking place. There's no dump trucks currently coming from there. It was already approved for Byler's subdivision, 65 acres, 56 lots, which is also going to add traffic to our road. Best case scenario, we're talking 56 houses. Byler doesn't typically do residential single family dwellings. He does the detached fourplexes. You can tell by the mess that we're currently having now with the flaggers, with the road construction, that those intersections are just, Parks and Pittman is packed, and the traffic patterns are terrible. CCS, the CCS early learning, their evacuation plan, if they have a problem, is at 7160 West Anna Marie Drive, which is a property that we also own. So they will be crossing Sylvan to that location, which with at best 100 to 200 trucks on the road. It's not very safe for the kids, but we are dealing with probably max to the fact of 500 to 1,000. I'm here to just ask you guys to deny this permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Then it's Taryn Fraker and then Dawn Harris. That's fine. Oh, there, you just spoke. Dawn Harris and then Bob, is this Coffin as well?
Hi, I'm Dawn Harris, spelled Harris. I'm here tonight with my husband, John. We've lived on Joe's Drive for 20 years. We started out renting there, and we loved the property so much that we bought 2 acres down the road and built a home and raised our family, but we've been there 20 years. I've also been a road maintenance contractor with Matanuska-Susitna for 30 years in the Talkeetna area, and we know gravel. We love gravel. We maintain gravel. We buy gravel, we dump gravel. So I'm not against gravel, but I'm against this gravel pit in this area. And it's going to be redundant, what I'm going to share with you, but we drove 40 minutes to get here, so I'm going to share it. I strongly oppose the application for the following reasons. History shows that residential property values decrease as a result of gravel pits adjacent to such properties. Should property owners decide to sell their homes, it would be difficult to sell based on devalued property next to gravel pit mining. According to the Matanuska-Susitna, accordingly, the Matanuska-Susitna stands to lose property tax dollars. Nobody's really mentioned that. All the people in our neighborhood who have $300,000, $400,000, or $500,000 homes, the Matanuska-Susitna is going to lose property tax dollars. Sylvan hosts many residents who walk, ride bikes, including children. There's an incredibly dangerous traffic situation, and frankly, the road simply cannot handle the commercial traffic of dump trucks and such. If you drove down Sylvan this spring, you probably saw a bunch of potholes and unraveling on the edges of the asphalt, and that happens every spring, and it's going to increase many more times if we have more traffic on that road. It's also going to be costly to maintain that road. And from my direction of travel up the hill from Joe's Drive, the visibility is already very poor. I've come up on people who are walking on the minimal shoulder, and it's dangerous already. And somebody else mentioned the poorly designed intersection at the Parks Highway. I can't believe they did what they did. Putting 2 meridians in where people are flipping U's around. You don't even know where anybody's going. It's a flagger nightmare. And it's going to get worse if it comes from Sylvan. Gravel pits produce dust and unhealthy particulates for breathing. Children who attend the Charter Academy use Sylvan as their PE time. They jog around the block, they take walks. So there's always kids on that road. The revenue that gravel pits generates is temporary and benefits only the developers. Residential property is long-term and generates tax revenues for many years. And there's no benefit to the property owners for the gravel pit. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bob Coffin and then Renee Grant.
My name is Robert Coffin. I'm going to do something a little different. I just want to summarize what we're hearing here tonight. I mean, everybody's coming up with different points, and I'd like to go through them. We have the neighborhood. I mean, this is just going to ruin the neighborhood totally, okay? It's going to affect the houses, the people, the children, everything in the neighborhood. That's been covered. We have the health concerns. I mean, my wife has bronchitis. There's other children here that have problems, okay? So we have a piece of land that's owned by Mental Trust that's going to poison other people so that Mental trust can take care of them. Okay, that makes sense. We have the schools, okay? We have a couple of schools in the strip mall by us. The kids from the one school, as already was pointed out, they walk around the block, right down by the gravel pit, right by my office every day. And I don't know what's gonna happen when they run a bunch of gravel trucks up and down there. I don't think it'll be very good for them. Daycare center. Daycare center's in the same building. They have a playground out back, okay? Playground with, all kinds of things, teeter-totters, everything that little kids would come out and play with. So we're gonna have the dust generated by this gravel pit that's gonna go over on top of the toys that the kids are gonna be playing on. Doesn't make sense either. The existing road, okay, here's something that's really good. The existing road has signs on it. They've lowered the speed limit. They have signs that the borough has posted, beware of the children, okay? That was done by the borough at the request of the community here several years ago. Something that's really ironic is that one of the signs is right where the entrance to the gravel pit is going to be. They will have to take down the sign that says beware of the children, lowering the speed limit to get into the new gravel pit. That one didn't make any sense either. The trail, there is a trail that goes through this land, okay, it's been brought up. Quali has used the trail as a justification for accessing the lot so they could take test samples on the gravel that's in there. But is the trail recognized? Has anybody looked into this? There's been talk about whether the trail is being used to go through. The state has a program for trails. This is an existing trail. It is used. Obviously, Quality knows it's an existing trail. They use that justification to drive into this land. So are we just going to forget about this trail, or what do we do about it? Okay, we'll throw that away. Water table, okay? There's a community water well, okay? What's going to happen with that, okay? That provides water for a whole group of houses there. There's hundreds of houses surrounding this area, including one that I've got, with wells. Has anybody looked into what's going to happen? Nobody has. That doesn't even count the airport, guys. We have so much more on this thing that's covered than just the items that we have here now. So everybody's got to consider all of it. Thanks.
Thank you. So next is Renee Grant and then Sarah Godfrey.
Hi, my name's Renee Grant. It's Grant. I've been in Alaska for 17 years. I've owned 2 condos and a house in Anchorage. For the last 7 years, I've had the privilege of working in Meadow Lakes on Sloven Road, living in Anchorage. 7 years I've watched this street and this neighborhood and this community, and finally I decided that I wanted to move there. It was my place that I wanted to go to. I had the opportunity, unlike many other people, to actually see the street, the community, the quietness, the traffic pattern, the mistake at the intersection that they did over there, the whole thing, before the streetlights were there, before any of that happened. So I made the move. I sold my house in Anchorage, found my little home in Meadow Lakes there this past October. And, the idea of a community is to move in, invest into the community, and make it better, right? So now I question whether I made the right decision of moving out here and picking this community. I've already invested in a $10,000 roof in my house, and I'm hesitant whether I want to put any more money into the house and make it better, right? When I put money into these houses, into my house, and make it better for the other places, it helps raise our property value. It makes it a little more convenient. Now with this gravel pit going in, it's kind of a deterrent for people, right? Here I am coming from Anchorage City, wanting to invest in the community, and think I may have made the wrong choice. So I'm asking you guys to please deny this. There's plenty of other land down the road, just right down the road, with no housing developments, no communities. Also, because I've been there for 7 years, I've seen the school. The school takes the kids on walks all through that community, and there are no sidewalks, right? So they're on the side of the path there. They walk around the block, they do their little exercises, they come back through, and they go back, and they're always there, and they're in a little line holding hands and going through. My front door is 120 feet from Sylvan, my house front door. It's also about 200 feet to the proposed entrance to the gravel pit. Fortunately for me, my backyard isn't to it, but my neighbors are directly across the street. We have dogs, we have animals, we have children that run out into the streets and play. And that street, I don't know if you guys have ever been on it, it's not a big street. It's a tiny 2-lane road. There's no shoulder. There's nothing there. There's no real infrastructure to support that amount of traffic. Unlike the Pittman side, and the Pittman side is a disaster, right? It's currently, flaggers are out there, trucks are going by, everybody's, doing all this stuff. The traffic lights aren't even on, right? Because the gravel pits are just pouring through there. And it is, like somebody else said, on the opposite side of the street. So it is a huge impact to Sylvan Road because they do not currently drive on that road. So for them to say that it's not going to be much more of an impact, that is entirely untrue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Gottfried and followed by Norman Gottfried.
Hello, my name is Sarah Godfrey, Godfrey. So I'm opposed to this gravel pit. Have you ever heard anybody say that's a beautiful gravel pit? I want to live next to it? No? So everybody's talking money. The trust apparently is going to earn $1.6, $1.5 million respectively from this lease. So taking an average of, let's say, 10% property value de-loss of the 150 homes, an average of 250 a home, you're looking at roughly a loss of revenue of $3.7 million for the residents and the tax that you can potentially make. All the way up to 40% loss of our homes, which will make $15 million in loss for your taxes that we pay. That road floods every year. It has a dip, it floods, we splash the water puddle every time we go home. The big trucks that are now with the construction company across the street that is on Sylvan have already damaged our road, but the weight limit, these trucks are just going to add to it. Byler is going to add to it. The gravel pit that's off Church, the gravel they pulled off of Church, you can see the damage on Church Road now from all the weight they did to the Parks Highway extension that they created. This happened, I'm gonna give you a history lesson, in Birchwood 10 years ago. Birchwood Loop, they had a property section they sold for a gravel pit. The company said, we're gonna put a 10-foot berm. That's a 50-foot pit. They said we were going to develop that for a long-term thing. It's a 50-foot pit. Nobody's done anything. It's next to water. They said they weren't gonna run rock crushers. First year they were in rock crushers. They weren't gonna run certain hours. They operated 24 hours a day. They said they were gonna keep it under a certain decimal. They never did. My question is, they have this proposal, but who will enforce it? No one. We don't have somebody that's gonna say, you're over this decimal, shut it down. There's nobody. We don't have anybody say, you said you weren't bringing rock crushers in here. Get them out. Who's gonna come and help? The neighborhood, we can't do anything. Like, what are we supposed to do? Call the cops? Trooper station's across the street. So we technically could, I guess, but that's a kind of a poor use of our law enforcement. But maybe you guys will listen if we keep calling them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next is Norman Godfrey, followed by Haley Godfrey.
Norman Godfrey, Godfrey. So I've got a short little clip here that I'd like you guys to listen to real quick. That's a D10 dozer, which is in the plan, along with several others. I'm not super interested in having that in my backyard. I don't know about you guys, but just like my wife said, nobody wants to live, or whoever said, that's a beautiful, beautiful gravel pit. I want to live next to it. So Ms. McDonald, you talked about a noise plan in Anchorage that's been working well next to the condo for decades, you said. But you didn't talk about what that plan was. And I'd like to know, does that mean that the folks in the condo have never complained about the noise? I'd be pretty surprised if that's the case. The other thing that you talked about that I'd like to mention is you said only under special circumstances or special contracts, you guys would be running 24/7. That sounds really neat. But like my wife just said, when that happens, we have no recourse. What am I supposed to do? Listen to this noise all night when I have to go to work in the morning? You've also heard from several other folks here that I didn't realize when I came here was going to happen. You know, these are all my neighbors. These are all my friends that I've known for 15 years that we've lived there. Most of these people have honked their horn at my kids playing football on the street. You know, I see Roger, or not Roger, Roger's my neighbor. He can't sell his house down. Mr. Gregory, he walks. If I leave my house at the right time every day, I see him on the street. What's he going to do when all these trucks are on the road? That's pretty much all I have. Well, wait, I've got one more thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about was with this equipment and the fluids, the hydraulic oil, you know, the hundreds of gallons of hydraulic oil that these machines hold, and diesel fuel and things of that nature potentially spilling into the gravel pit and or potentially our waterways and our drinking water. Those are my concerns. I appreciate you guys listening, and I obviously oppose this gravel pit. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next is Haley Godfrey and then Sean Barrows.
Hello, my name's Haley Godfrey, Godfrey. As you've heard, there is a couple schools by this gravel pit, and I have gone to both of those schools. And we did, during our gym class or recess, we used those neighborhoods to go around on our walks. We also had a running club that ran around our neighborhood. So these trucks that are going to be running on these roads really concerned me for the safety of the students. Every time school to work on some projects, and we ended up walking home, and we would have to walk on the shoulder that's barely there and make sure no cars hit us. And if that was too much of a risk, we'd have to walk on the dirt. So seeing that this plan might go through really concerns me. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Barrows and then Whitney Crombie.
Hello, my name is Sean Barrows, B as in Bravo, Arrows. I was born and raised in Alaska. I have been in construction myself for almost 40 years. I currently work for a construction company, and we operate 2 gravel pits, one in rural Alaska and one in the municipality of Anchorage, neither of which are in residential areas. They're both in commercial properties where they belong. The focus of my opposition paper was equipment, and you heard what it sounds like to have a D10 operate in your backyard. The hot plant, the crusher, and most importantly, with the children that are on the road, that walk the road on a daily basis. If a belly dump, side dump, end up either unloaded, it's 28,000 pounds. Loaded, it's 78,000 pounds. So if you've got a dog or a child that runs in front of one of those fully loaded, and by the way, prudent contractors run at capacity all the time. So if you've got to stop on a dime, if you look at the federal highway, there's a federal highway website, and it talks about the brake capacity. So you're not going to stop on a dime. You're not going to not hit a child. And reclamation, the reclamation section in UMIAC's proposal, it's less than a paragraph. And those of us that have seen the air quotes reclaimed property that QAP and Co-Alaska have done
in our state, it's reprehensible. There is no reclamation. You have an opportunity as a planning commission to do what's right for your community, for this community, and we're asking you to do that. I'm obviously very opposed, pro-development, but opposed to this development in a residential area. So thank you.
Thank you. So it's Whitney Crombie and then Matthew Medius. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Whitney Crombie, Crompie. I'm a resident of Knox Drive, and I have been for the last 11 years. I came here tonight to voice my strong opposition to the proposed gravel pit and asphalt plant. A lot of folks here tonight have been voicing the concerns about how the gravel pit will affect the residents of the community, but I wanted to be a voice for those that can't speak for themselves, the environment and the wildlife that reside in the area. The proposed parcel of land is 160 acres of mixed conifer forest with the wetlands running through the middle of the property. Various wildlife species inhabit the area, including, but not limited to, numerous bird species, a resident great gray owl, northern flying squirrels, red squirrels, porcupine, fox, moose, and those are only the ones that I have seen. I suspect that there is wood frog that reside in the wetlands area, but I have not personally seen them myself. To my knowledge, there has not been an environmental impact study performed in the proposed area to identify the detrimental impact this project will have on the environment and the wildlife that reside there. Ms. McDonald of QAP states her title is environmental specialist. Not one time did I hear her talk about the impacts to the environment and this community. I have a background in wildlife conservation and management, and everybody knows that the first thing that you propose is an environmental impact study. Not one time did I hear her say that. I also wanted to point out the irony that the AK Mental Health Trust is in favor of this plan. What about the mental health of all the residents here tonight? Over 130 comments were submitted to Mr. Weisenhunt, and 99% of them were in opposition of the gravel pit. So obviously the residents of this neighborhood do not support this. Thank you.
Thank you. So it might, is it Matthew Medius? And then is Richard Freestorm?
How's it going? My name is Matthew Medinas, Medinas. I've lived on Blondell Drive for 20 years now. I also own 2 acres on Knox Drive, where my daughter keeps her horse. Speaking to the safety of Sylvan Road and the poor quality of the intersection there, my son was broadsided leaving the gas station last year and totaled out 2 cars trying to get down to Sylvan Road. I also have a friend, Amy, that was killed in the intersection a few years ago because of the poor quality and the safety of that intersection. 100 trucks a day at the very minimum is going to destroy it. Not to mention what's going on down the road with the other housing going on. It's going to, I mean, if 100 there and there's 100 trips for vehicles, that's 200 at the very minimum that you're going to put on that, on Sylvan Road. This morning I woke up to quality asphalt beepers across the highway. They're running their dozers over there for the gravel pit. The first thing I heard this morning was beepers from dozers going up and down. So the noise pollution problem is not going to go away by a 20-foot fence. Blondell Drive, because of the flagging operation and the poor quality of traffic control, people are doing 80 miles an hour down that road. I've got my nieces that live next door to me. Next door to them is also 2 little girls that are running around on the road. My kids are there. The neighbor across the street, Seth, has his kids out there. You're asking for someone to get killed. I've seen it. I've lived it. My son was in an accident last year. It was close. And all he was trying to do was get out of the gas station and get home. So regardless of everything else, I have 2 wells. They're both at 40 feet. The water contamination might kill those. I would like to see maybe someone guarantee us water rights if they're going to start digging that deep. No one here has that. I mean, it's $100, $200 for me to submit that, and it's 2 years. I could lose water. So obviously I'm opposed to this whole gravel pit thing. I deal with the traffic. I've asked for years to get speed bumps put in to try and mitigate the speeding going on. And people are trying to bypass that intersection to get down to the gas station because of poor traffic. And I just don't see it happening. And I think that we're creating a very unsafe situation for more and more incidents like I've experienced. So that's my piece. I hope you guys make smart decisions. And, you know, Alaska Mental Health seems to have a great, here's your story, but we live there. We deal with it every day. It's a great neighborhood with little kids running around all over the place. Just make good decisions, smart decisions that aren't going to negatively affect people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Richard Freestrom, or Strawn, and then Audrey Morlock, mother of previous speaker.
Thank you for this time. I'm just a private resident. Oh, my last name, Freistrom, Freestrom. Private residence on 6181 Shellstone Loop. It's a quiet residential area. A gravel pit does not belong in a residential area, period. End of story on that. Another thing that I am very concerned with is water pollution. You have a lot of pollution coming off of those trucks, dozers, and when they rinse gravel to take and keep the dust down, that runoff, where does that arsenic and nitrates and lead and chloroform or whatever it is that comes off of the rocks go? It leaches down into the water table. And once that happens, that will continue for many, many years. I haven't heard anybody say anything about $1 million bond to protect the wells of all the residents that are around. Nobody's mentioned that. Reclamation. Nobody should be digging down into the ground. If they're going to dig gravel, they should have a hill that they're digging into. If that isn't the case, it should not happen. The traffic, I'm off the traffic pattern. I'm concerned with my water table. Who's going to pay for the road wear? Who's going to protect our wells? And once that water table is damaged, what are they going to say? Oh, we'll truck water in, and who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for drilling wells deeper? I don't know that the normal family, the average family has $3,000, $4,000, $10,000 to take and sink their well deeper. That's not fair to the people. You're trying to put a bar next to the churches, and that's wrong. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next is Audrey Morlock, and then Natalie Pickett.
Hi. My name is Audrey Morlock, Morlock. I'd want to say thank you first to applaud the planning committee for denying this proposal. Thank you so much for your hard work. I have lived in this house for 30 years. I have moved there in 1990 with 3 children, and I've given birth to 7 and had 8 children there. I still live there today. I now have 8 grandchildren.